Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolbarger. Welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. It is the week of March 18th, and it just so happens to be Purim today. So happy Purim. And as you know, that's the holiday that's remembering Esther and Mordecai. And of course, we'll start booing now when we say Haman. And I always remember that phrase from Mordecai when he's talking to Esther about what actions are required. And he says, for such a time as this. That's been going through my mind when I'm thinking about a Middle East update and we always talk about being the sons like the sons of Issachar, understanding the times so that we know what we should be doing for such a time as this. So happy Purim, everyone. And just a reminder, make sure you grab the PDF PowerPoint because it gives you a lot more information than we have time for in this YouTube video. And you can get that either on the site that you're watching this YouTube. There should be a link for that, or go to our website, Holy Ground Explorations, that's plural.com. All right, you can get it there. So this week in Israel, I just read this today and my jaw just dropped, that there's reports that the US is dropping the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, from the terrorism blacklist. This is the notorious Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the most powerful faction in Iran. It was designated as the terror group in 2019. Now, Washington insiders are claiming that by they're going to remove this status of the IRGC from the terrorist blacklist if Iran can provide the U.S. with assurances that it will rein in its elite force. We're just going to trust Iran that they're going to rein in this elite terrorist force. We're just going to take them at their word. What is going on? And then, having failed in his efforts to prevent Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Biden administration looks to set and add to its global reputation of weakness by agreeing yet with another flawed nuclear deal with Iran. Again, all of our focus, the focus of the media, everything is being focused on the Ukraine and Russia, and understandably so. But just like a good musician, that sleight of hand, he's going to want your attention to be over here. Look at this, while he comes around the back and does something over there. And this is that Iranian nuclear deal. If the reports that I'm getting are true, and we'll know within a couple weeks, it looks like we are caving. And again, jaw-dropping when I think that this notorious IRGC is going to be taken off the terrorism blacklist. It makes no sense. So, other things that are going on in the Middle East, since we're talking about Iran, this article's entitled Weeks, Not Months. We wish it was years, decades. But according to data from the International Atomic Energy Agency, this is a UN agency, quote, Iran has enough highly enriched uranium to build 2 nuclear bombs in about 4 weeks. Huh? The report goes on to say they're more advanced than what was previously recorded. This is back to you can trust us, right? And due to the growth of Iran's 20 and 60% enriched uranium stocks, the breakout timelines have become dangerously short, far shorter than just a few months ago. All right. And then, of course, last week, Iran claimed the responsibility for a missile barrage that struck near a sprawling US consulate complex in the northern Iraqi city of Erbil, saying that it was in retaliation for an Israeli strike in Syria that killed 2 members of its Revolutionary Guard. A US consulate attacked by Iranian missiles? My understanding of a consulate is that that is US soil. So in other words, Iran has launched rockets into the US, claiming, oh, it's really meant for the Israelis because of what they've done previously. I have a video here on this slide number 5, I found very interesting, not by Naftali Bennett, but by Bibi Netanyahu. And I gave you the link there to watch his warning considering what Iran is literally capable of and, in his words, about to do. So if you have the time, it's very short, check that out. And then still with the Iranian strikes, a massive cyber attack on the Israeli government happened on Monday, as well as what I just mentioned, this missile attack on a US consulate in Iraq. The cyber attack had, all of this happened because Israel had, at least in Israel, it was reported that hundreds of unmanned drones were destroyed at a military base in western Iran. The Mossad has not claimed responsibility for that, but 1 + 1 does equal 2. And because of how many of these drones were taken out, this is Iran's response was to send missiles at our consulate, which we talked about, in Iraq, and a cyber attack against Israel. And the cyber attack was lasted for over an hour, and it targeted the websites that would use government.gov.il. That's the domain. And so the government was shut down their website for, like I said, for, let me see what it says here, up to a couple hours. So massive cyber attack and all of it this week. That's what's going on. And then, you know, it is hard to conceive of this, but here's the truth. When we come to the end of days, it appears that God is going to reinvest himself in Israel once the church is raptured. And the prophecies in the Bible indicate that Jerusalem will become a cup of trembling. This is according to Zechariah, for the entire world. We know that the Antichrist is going to set up his spiritual government. He's going to want to claim Jerusalem. And sometimes you have to wonder, why Jerusalem? What an insignificant capital, not a gateway city, not a major harbor, not a major airport, not a major military installation. Why is it Jerusalem? And the answer is simply because God said so. Okay? And in the midst of all this that's transpiring, and again, keep in mind, Israel is nothing before 1948, 70 plus years. Look at where they're at now. And I say all that because now not only is Israel being sought after by both Russia, Putin, and the Ukraine as being the major go-to ceasefire. Let's hold these meetings not in the US, not in China, not in the European Union, No, let's hold them in Jerusalem. And let's use the chief mediator to be Naphtali Bennett. Now, keep in mind, Naphtali Bennett, this is as bizarre as it comes with Israeli politics. You need 61 seats in the Knesset to have a majority, and then your party, usually the largest of that, basically appoints the prime minister. But this last election, because Likud, headed by Netanyahu, is still the largest party, but just like there was a Never Trump movement here, it mirrored itself in Israel, and there was a Never Bibi campaign, and yet the horse trading that would go on between the parties to get to 61, the center left didn't have enough. They had to get Naphtali Bennett's party that had the least number of seats, 6, I think it is. And his deal was, okay, I'll give you our 6 votes or 6 seats. That'll put you over the limit, but here's the deal. I'll be prime minister. Think about it. The person not only is the center now of these negotiations with everything that we're seeing right now, going to be in Jerusalem. Who's the chief mediator? An insignificant Jerusalem, I might add. And who's the chief negotiator? Not Bibi, not Benny Gantz. These people that would have many more seats than Naphtali Bennett, but the guy with the least amount. This is the craziness of the world we're living in today. But it's just as God said it would be. And it's important for us to realize that as we continue to march into these end of days. God has scripted it. He's not waking up in the morning, wringing his hands, freaking out, saying, what am I going to do? I never saw this coming. No, he knows the end from the beginning, and he has literally scripted these events. May we walk in his ways for such a time as this. And then the last 2 things, again, I usually pull these things up, but when all the media is talking about, 2-state solution, Israel needs to cave, Israel needs to do this, Israel needs to trust, etc. I always want to point out the other side. So here's the Palestinian Marathon, freedom of movement that's coming up. Notice their logo. What do you see there? True to PA policy of denying the existence of Israel, the logo erases the entire state of Israel. This is the so-called peace partner. And then, as I said, and I'll keep banging this drum, we're going back to Israel. We have a trip coming up September 14th through the 23rd. We can't wait to get there. It's an experience that if you love your Bible and if you love talking to Jesus, I can promise you Jesus wants to meet you in his backyard, and he will. I guarantee it. It's what happened to me, and we're so blessed that we've taken thousands of people to Israel who've had that same encounter with the Lord. So pray about joining us. One thing for certain, Sharon and I are looking at these trips now. It was about 2 years ago to this very day that we were sitting in the Ben Gurion airport, one of the last groups out before the entire world shut down. And now that it's reopened, we don't know for how long, and we're never going to assume, oh, this is just one, we got 3 more coming up. No, we're going to treat each one of these trips as possibly being our last opportunity. So pray about joining us this fall in Israel. Again, happy Purim, and God bless you all, and shalom.